The Mangaung Metro has for years experienced significant financial and service delivery failures, resulting in the municipality being placed under administration in 2022. The executive mayor of the Mangaung Metro Municipality, Gregory Nthatisi, says that despite all the challenges being faced, the Metro's efforts to provide basic services to the poor in accordance with the promises of the government remain intact. Now, in our Your Voice, Your Choice segment this morning, we are focusing on Mangaung Metro Municipality in the Free State and also inviting you to send us your comments and questions for Mayor Gregory Nthatisi, who joins us now in studio. Mr. Mayor, thanks so much for your time. Thanks for making it into studio. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you so much for inviting me.
I must say, it's a bleak picture. I was looking at some headlines after the AG's report yesterday, and one of them read, 2 municipalities in South Africa run so badly that they are actively hurting residents. And Mangaung Metro was one of the 2. How do you respond to that? What do you say to the residents?
Well, let me indicate that Mangaung, as we speak, is under Section 139, subsection 7, A and C. And it has been, like you've indicated, since 2021 to date. And that implies things would not, or were not holding, so we had to bring things to life. We're at a point where we are actually implementing the financial recovery plan as developed by the intervention team that came from National, with critical 4 cardinal points: governance, institutional stability, service delivery, and finances. With governance, we can indicate that we have made a headway in stabilizing our institutions. We still have serious hiccups when it comes to issues of finance. And by standard, the intervention should now be focusing on Section 154, which would imply, therefore, National must now intervene financially to mitigate on some of the challenges that emerge as a result of the intervention that really came into effect. So yes, indeed, we are doing what we can, but I can tell you, we really have to bring that metro to a stability where the resident of Mangaung would literally live in a very habitable metro in a number of spaces. We are waterlogged. We are in the middle of the country. We survive by a catchment point. By now, a pipeline should have been in Mangaung from Kharib Dam, and we only need 1% of that dam to really mitigate the water crisis that we are faced with year in and year out. So the turbidity that has come into our dams also has reduced even the volumes that should be there. Yes, we are, and as a result, we also approach the, institution of higher learning, and also look at how we can explore underground water. We are really looking at possible solutions to provide water to our communities, which water is life, and we really have to do our best, and we really are trying, improving on our dams, improving on our pump stations, working on ailing infrastructure that we've inherited, as well as developing new ones. It's tough, but we must literally do the best we can.
When you say it's tough, is the metro technically insolvent?
Not necessarily. We are able to survive. Our budget is always funded. We are doing the best collection. We have moved from 43% to 76% now. We're chasing to reach 95%. We still have hiccups around unfunded water, which is as a result of a number of informal settlement. We're not losing our water through in the main, leakages and other related. We have addressed those, but we need now to find a way of making sure that we meet up water in areas where people are living and aren't paying water, and that would actually bring also improvement to our collection. Our informal settlement, like many others that have mushroomed across the country, we've got 72. And that's where much water is going to, because the Human Rights Commission would not allow you not to give people water in those areas. We indeed have to. And whilst doing so, that then takes more from what our budget should be addressing. I must hittingly indicate that with the audit outcome that speaks to qualified, Last year, we were able to work to 1 findings. This time around, they work to 5. And part of the increment in those findings speak to water as well, in terms of our collection spell and discipline. So we must find a way of how we reach out. And we had to put a plan in place because you can't meter or charge people that are living in an informal arrangement that's not formalized. And we then had to embark on the process of trying to formalize those processes. Of course, there are hiccups along the way.
So what does that mean in terms of those who are formalized? Are they receiving water for the monies that they pay?
Yes, you know, when an informal settlement is kind of formalized, that's when you issue out PTOs, permission to occupy. Now, you know, on that piece of land, there is Sakina there, and she's accountable to whatever operations that are taking place there. So you can then provide water, you can provide electricity. But in an informal settlement where people actually have occupied the land, it's not formal, you wouldn't even know who's staying there, you need to really relocate them properly. That's a crisis.
But regarding the formal areas, those that have been formalized, are they all receiving water?
Yes.
Are they all being properly billed for the water that they receive?
Absolutely. I must actually qualify it this way. When you formalize an informal settlement, it is covered in the Housing Act that at least give them, even if it's rudimentary facilities, ablution facility, as well as water, in order for them to be able to, the place to be habitable. So those get formalized. Now, what we are literally doing as a metro is to say, if we are not metered at the point when people are going there, let's have what we call a flat rate, just to make sure that for whatever services they use there, there's money coming in. Then that will mitigate what the AG has referred to as, unfunded or unaccounted services of water.
What I'm referring to is established areas in the Mangaung Metro, where people are saying that they are questioning the billing that they received with regard to water, with regards to electricity. So as the mayor, what is your response to those people?
Look, there are two ways in which we provide electricity. We've got a company called Centlec that accounts to municipality, and we are 100% shareholder. On that side, we are fully in control, and our billing there is not questionable. But there are some parts of the metro that are still under Eskom, which the turnaround of the two entities are even different. Centlec's turnaround, when there are challenges, it would be in and around 24 hours. If we really are facing a serious challenge, it will be 48 hours. I can account for Eskom because it's an independent body that operates in our space. There are not many towns that are subjected to Eskom, but they are there. So we have written to Eskom to request that those parts, through the request of the communities, they fall under our electricity entity. With water, I can say we have metered a substantial amount of our city. Where we are struggling, it would be on those areas where there are houses that were left by Buputatswana, and there were also houses that were built in the heydays of before democracy, that the original owners are no longer the actual occupant of those houses as we speak now, and they are in numbers. The company called Kayale to the company called Buputatswana Development Corporation, as well as Hlanu. Those companies had built those houses. Somebody else had to occupy them. They are intact as we speak, but now the question of who owns the house and who do you pin to billing still remains a problem. But it's not a matter that we are saying it cannot be attended to. We have approached the National Department to intervene where those houses could be turned to the beneficiaries that are in, rightfully so, because legally we need to follow all the prescript to make sure that, but now, whilst doing that, we still have to provide the people who are living in those houses with water.
Mm.
Yes.
And I'm listening to you, Mr. Mayor, and, it seems like I'm listening to two separate stories, listening to you and listening to what the residents have to say. The picture you paint, very different from the picture that the residents paint. The Auditor General has said that one of the issues with the Mangaung Metro is that of repeat findings. Now, you said that you have improved this time around. We'll see how that goes. But if the latest report from the Auditor General comes out and there's no improvement, will you be prepared to step down?
Okay, let me start by repeat findings. One of the common repeat findings in the findings that you would see, remember I said last year and the year before, one common finding was there. It's a repeat over time. And we need to speak to that quite heartily. But let me be straightforward to you. We are put into these responsibilities to do wonders and serve communities. And if we can't, we honestly and earnestly shall have to step down. It doesn't even have to be a rocket science for one to do so. Believe me, even when I leave this studio and I come across a situation that says, no, we're not happy, yeah, I will gladly do so. But let me talk about the issue of overtime. Remember, I'm 2 years in that institution. And some of the issues that we are actually talking to, even what the residents are referring to me are inherited. Yet I still impact on them. And they are mine now that I've inherited them. I can't renege from that. The issue of overtime speaks to the workers of the municipality. It's one area that I need to strongly prove leadership, because that issue is an issue that we find even workers that were working for the municipality were in jail and still were paid. We took the matter to the law enforcement. We also find a situation where the regularized, and the AG is complaining about it, the regularized discipline of overtime is not inside. We have developed modalities. We still have to negotiate with our workers and to make sure that it works, the shift system, in a way to try and find a solution. I must say here and now, a solution will be found. I just would not allow that situation to persist, because part of the money that I should literally be taking to service delivery tend to address this amorphous overtime that from time to time rears its head and does not that get realized on the ground. There must be value for money.
So in terms of consequence management, how many people have been arrested because of the overtime situation?
Look, arrested are those that perpetuated paying people that were kind of like ghost workers in the municipality, working when they were not working at the municipality. Some in jail, others in other provinces, but yet earning money. That matter is actually with the law enforcement unit, sub judice it may be, but I have the right to say it has happened.
When was it referred?
With my 6 months into the office. When I came in, it's part of what I discovered as I was trying to cleanse the system so that I must get to deal with the financial recovery plan.
So within 6 months when you entered office, when did you enter office? In 2023?
23 late. Yeah.
Yes, so that's been more than a year.
Well, of course, what is painful is that matters that are with the law enforcement unit, when they are now with the law enforcement unit, you can't dictate terms. I honestly would like to find results. But when they are outside, there are a number of issues that are outside my scope that I've referred, so that people must be arrested and people must be charged. And now the law enforcement unit is just another entity.
But as a key stakeholder in the matter, what has been the feedback from law enforcement to you?
Well, of course, I'm looking for my feedback all the time. There are a number of them, like I'm saying. There are indeed a number of them. Remember, there is also a report that deals with IPTN, where the issues of buses came into a hot cake. I've referred the matter to the law enforcement unit, giving them all the documents that they need. I think part of what the president has addressed with regard to how things must be done rapidly, it's a space that I really would ask, but it's a space that I cannot enforce.
But it's not rapid.
Yes, I know.
It is 2024, 2025, we're in 2026. It's more than 2 years, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
So therefore, you are not asking people to move mountains. By now, there should have been consequences.
what I would ask you to do one day is to perhaps get one of the generals to come and account.
But what are they saying to you?
Well, of course, like I'm saying, when I go to them, they will always report to say, no, we are on top of events, we have just uncovered this, we're investigating on this, investigating on that. And really, and honestly and truly, you would know that it's not my space. Mine is to get results, and results would come through them. If it doesn't come, I've got other processes that are unfolding in the municipality. Some of the issues that are hit and hot, I've referred them to MPEC. For MPEC to make sure that they are referred to there. MPEC is one body that must tell wrong was done here. This must be now referred to disciplinary board, and the city manager now is referring some of the matters to the DC board. Those are now internal processes. Those I can account to. What I can say to you is that all the cases that I've inherited and all the matters that have been unfolding, some of them were not attended to. I've referred them to MPEC, and they say things will be seeing their way to the DC board.
Are you prepared to publish a public list of consequence management actions that you have taken since you've stepped into the mayor's office?
Quite obviously, it is public knowledge. It has to be public knowledge. Remember, I take it to council, and anything that goes to council and that hit resolutions of council is subject to public knowledge.
Hence, I'm asking, are you prepared to publish that list?
Absolutely.
To say, since you took office in 2023, these are the consequences, dismissals, suspensions, referrals, all of those things.
Certainly.
How long do you think it will take you to do that?
For me to do that?
Yes.
When I go to the office, I just have to get my reports and tell them, look, public needs this, and let it happen. Face the public, let's tell them what we're doing. We need to be transparent.
Yes.
We need to be honest. We need to be able to give people hope. Remember, I'm dealing with a situation, I wouldn't say from hopeless to hope. I'm not the arbiter to that. But I can literally indicate that I'm talking to a system that collapsed. So to revitalize them is to make sure that they rear their heads, they become active, and they become accountable to society.
Speaking of collapsed systems, in the last report, AG's report, it took you about 229 days to pay your creditors. How long is it taking the Metro now?
We have since addressed that. Part of why it had to be that way, at one point when you correct, in one side you perhaps might traverse the regulation. You see, it is something else to pay, but it is another to pay where value was not created. So you need to ascertain that. And part of what we had inherited, or what we have inherited, would be claims that were not in line with what was on the ground. In the same report of AG, they will tell you that when they go on the ground, or when they look at our payment system, we would have paid 110% of what it is suggested to be on the ground. But when they go on the ground, they'll get about 35% of the value that was added. Now, when you mitigate that, it would then mean you need to scrutinize any form of claim that comes on the table. And in doing so, it will then impact on the system itself in terms of paying. It's not a cul-de-sac-like situation.
And that's
it's the checks and balances.
That's a fair point, but one would expect that is the exception and not the rule. Otherwise, are you suggesting that your creditors are all in some way or another trying to fleece the municipality, and therefore you need to go and check again before you pay?
And that will happen from time to time if your systems are not up to scratch. But I can put it this way to you. Remember, part of the financial recovery plan was institutional stability. And that had to actually impact on me to look at HODs and necessarily the CFO, and to make sure that under them there are managers and general managers, so that all system goes. And when you are doing that, you'll of course come across the palpitations and the difficulties that you're making reference
But
to.
with suppliers where there are no issues, how long is it taking the Metro on average to
Well,
pay?
it certainly should take us 30 days,
It
and it
should,
does.
but how long is it taking?
It does take us 30 days.
30 days.
Yeah, it does really take us 30 days. I must indicate.
You know they're going to tell us if it's
Well,
not
of course
true.
they can, but when you tell, you must come to me and prove to me that was your certificate up to scratch. Did you really hit the nuts and bolts when we're claiming? Because some of them, it's a question of competency. You just throw a document that I've done this work. It must go with when I go to AG. Remember, I'm not only accounting to that person I'm paying. There's AG on the other side that must literally be satisfied as to the entity that I paid for really did touch base with the value on the ground. And at some point, they do put a claim. When you look at it, you'll find that the claim is ahead of what is on the ground. I can't pay that.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to park that there. Let's look at what some of the listeners and residents are saying. Lifa says, good morning, admin. I think the new mayor is going to improve the Metro. Let's wait and see. Thanks so much, Lifa. The next one's from Bramoro, who says, unfortunately, we've never had a working mayor in Bloemfontein, else you wouldn't be seeing potholes in every street, poor drainage in the city, poor health infrastructure, daylight robbery, traffic light station in front of ANC office hasn't worked for the whole of 2026. We are tired. Perhaps a response to that?
Well, let's start by saying the Metro is a mess in sense of birth of example of small towns. Look, we have got 1,600 tired roads that are riddled, most of them with potholes over time. That needs money. For me to get those roads to be up to scratch, together with 2,200 of gravel road, it would need me 7.5 billion rand to do so. Now, what I'm doing, I'm working hard to make sure that where access routes, especially those that must take people to work, are first attended to work, hospital, and other essential amenities. Those are the roads that I'm really dealing with for now. With the understanding that I need to access money, get the province through the program of DDM and national to come in. With the president that, with the SONA, where the president made pronouncement on enormous alleviation to some of the programs that must take place. Already, such indictment will find on the table our business plan, which are already tabled to access those resources, which must help us to address some of the limitations that we are having, with a proviso that Section 139 must be followed with Section 154, which is not coming our way. And we're really kindling to make sure that we access those monies. But also, let me say this to my residents. When you really would like to observe rights, but they go with obligation, now, can they join hands in ensuring that our services are paid and are paid in time? Because that's the money that will help me close those potholes.
And then they're saying, well, what are we paying for? Those who are paying say, the city is a mess. What are we actually paying for? Sidwell, the Metro is a mess, and it sets a bad example to small towns surrounding it. Bloemfontein is our capital city, and it's a shame to see heaps of rubbish piling up on street corners and giant potholes. And maybe let me just take a last one. If we have another one from Lovers, who says Mangaung Metro is made up of 3 areas, Bloemfontein, Botshabelo, and Tabanchu, and only Bloemfontein gets services. Previously, there was an IDP stating that all Bloemfontein roads should be tarred roads, while Botshabelo and Tabanchu should be re-gravelled.
Well, let me put it this way. It's not a true reflection of Mangaung. We're actually 7 towns, and we must service all the 7 towns. That goes to Vepenat, Riversdorp, Van Stanstres, Soutpan, and other, and then Mangaung, Botshabelo, Tabanchu, and Bloemfontein. Those are our towns, and we have to service all those towns. Mangaung as a city, or as a metro, has got limited investment in terms of business that can swallow our people from accessing work and perhaps, taking care of themselves. So we're predominantly indigent, and some people depend entirely on grants. So we're really improving out on our indigent. But we had to pull an investment summit to try and attract investors to come to Mangaung and literally help us, provide opportunities for our people. But remember, investors would not come when there's no water. They would not come when roads infrastructure are not up to scratch. Those are some of the things that we must make them attractive. Now, we are doing our best to make sure that we really do address to some of the limitations that our residents are referring to. But like I'm saying, and you might have heard the MMC that was talking about budget constraints. We have to sustain ourselves beyond grants, beyond monies that are coming outside. And that sustainability must come from our people that should pay services. You are right. Some are paying services, and they'll expect that we should do likewise. But if the majority of those that should do so aren't doing it, we must be together in this so that the resources that we pull all together combined address to the needs on the ground.
In the last financial year, have you once again underspent on your conditional grants?
Well, look, we've improved from 43% when I came in to last financial year, 100% on USDG and about 83% on the USEF. So there is a high degree of improvement that we've spent last year. We are doing our best this time around to make sure that we spend and attract even the monies that we're not spent in other provinces.
What's the reasons for underspending on those conditional grants given the issues that residents are raising?
There is a balance, there is an imbalance between national processes and provincial processes as well as local processes. The DDM must address that. The truth of the matter is, you do not just issue out a project without having the engineering discipline behind it, surveying, all those things, including quantification and tendering and getting people to. Whilst you are doing that, the national processes have got their own time frame, and those are conditional grants. They've got their time frame. So we need to work a signage of discipline so that one party must know what the other is facing in terms of the difficulties on the ground. It is literally not about inefficiency.
What are your difficulties in Mangaung?
When I came in, we had no engineers. We had no professionals that could make sure that we bend the money as it comes towards relevant project that should take place. We have since at least recruited enough. And, there is a competition between private and public with regard to the professional discipline, particularly when it relates to the engineering space. There is a serious competition. Private sector dominate there.
We're out of time. 130 million in the last report due to late payments and delays, fruitless and wasteful expenditure. How do you explain that?
Look, part of our, let's talk about not fruitless. The majority of the money would not be fruitless. It will be money that was not budgeted for, but that had to be redirected towards the difficulties that we're faced with. Like pit latrines, we have got, our city has got about 79,000 houses that are on non-waterborne.
The AG says it's fruitless and wasteful expenditure.
Well, of course, when it comes to the AGs that we would have used, of course, some is, but the majority of it is that it would have been redirected. You see, fruitless is UIFW. It's one package that the AG charges us with when you did not use your money properly. Some of them will be fruitless. On those ones, we chase criminals. But most of it would be going to projects that were not budgeted for with regard to the money that we're using. But challenges that would speak to disaster, like I'm talking about pit latrine, when it rains, they overflow superlatively, and you can't leave.
But that wouldn't be under fruitless and wasteful expenditure.
Well, of course,
she actually qualifies what makes up that amount.
Yes, yes, I agree. Like I'm saying, on fruitless expenditure and wasteful, we are up, and those are the matters that earlier on when we were talking about what would be referred to the DC board and the MPEC would actually speak to. They need to qualify those and bring them to me, and then some of them will be referred to the law enforcement.
I'll await
units.
that list. that you said you
No,
just need to compile?
I don't.
End of the week,
I
Friday,
always
is
see
that
you in
okay?
Bloom. I always see you in Bloom, so I'll give it to you on the street of Bloemfontein.
That's fine. By Friday morning, we can share it with the rest of our viewers here.
No, no
on
setting.
Mangaung.
You need that list. I'm sure my
I need the
officials are
list.
listening.
We need the list. Everybody who lives in Mangaung wants to see that list.
Yeah, no, I'm happy. I'll do that. Look, it's my
Okay.
job. It's
Thank
what
you.
yeah.
And thanks so much for coming through. The Executive Mayor of the Mangaung Metro Municipality, Gregory Nthatisi, taking us through the Metro's woes, the governance and service delivery priorities as part of the Your Voice, Your Choice segment.